Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah, today I would be going through, I guess, like what the next steps would be, after you've gotten an offer. I'm guessing like all of you on this call have gotten an offer. You might have already gotten through some of the steps. But this would just be sort of like a one-stop shop about like everything that is to come immediately after you've gotten your offer. So I would just disable the meeting room. Okay, so everyone can join. And then I would give it say maybe like 2 minutes before I start, just to allow like anyone else that wants to join.
Hello.
Welcome. Yeah, I just said I should give like an extra 2 minutes for anyone else that needs to join before I start. So in 1 minute, I would start the presentation. I hope you guys can see my screen okay. I would ask that for the duration of the presentation, you keep your mics muted, please. And we will take questions at the end. Please try to keep your questions as general as possible. Like, we will not be able to answer specific queries on this platform, but if you have like any specific questions or issues that you're dealing with, please feel free to send an email to our inbox. I will put the email in the chat just so everyone has it. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay. So I think I would start now. I hope everyone can see my screen okay. So as I mentioned, like we would be doing sort of like a or charting a map of what comes next after you've received an offer from DCU. So first, just a few housekeeping rules. And again, please keep your mics muted throughout the duration of the presentation. And you can drop any questions that you have while the presentation is going on in the chat. Again, I would ask that you keep your questions as general as possible. If you have any specific issues to your own case, I would say you should send an email to the email that I've put in the chat box. And so my colleague, Frank, who is with me today, would be monitoring the chat. So just before I get into the presentation, I guess as a way to sort of like test our knowledge, like of what we are going to go through, I have a little Q&A, just 3 questions, and I'll put it on the chat for about on the screen for about 5 minutes. And please feel free to give answers, and at the end I would share the results. So hopefully by the end of this presentation, you would actually be confident in the answers to these questions. Okay, just give me 2 seconds. Yeah, so I will just launch that now. So please answer the questions. I'll leave it on screen for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then we would kick off with the presentation. Again, you don't need to know the answers. Like, we are definitely going to cover like what would be next. So I'll definitely give answers to these questions. Yeah, I can see answers already, which is good. Okay. Fantastic. I think, yeah, a lot of people are already quite knowledgeable. I can see the answers, and you guys seem to be getting them right. But yeah, I would go through. I'll just leave it up for another say 40 seconds, and then I'll start the presentation. Yeah, so I'll end the poll now in 10 seconds. Okay. Great. I would end the poll now. Yeah, the majority of you seem to already know the answers, which I think is good. But again, just for the rest that are not familiar, I would go through the presentation now. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll share the results of the poll at the end of the presentation. Okay. So as I mentioned, yeah, my name is Priya Bisana, and I will be the presenter for this webinar. And I'm joined by my colleague Frank, who will be monitoring the chats for any questions. Again, please try to keep your questions as general as possible. If you have specific questions, please feel free to email that email in the chat. Okay. So I will just walk you guys through the offer holders timeline, and I think this would provide answers to most of the questions that I asked in the poll. So once you have received your offer from DCE, the next step would be to accept your offer, and I'll go in detail about like every of the step, what you need to do, and what is required. The next step would be to try to arrange your own accommodation, and then you also need to pay your fees, apply for your visa if you need one, and then register as a student. You also need to plan your arrival in Dublin, and then attend the orientation once you have arrived in Dublin. And then you also need to register with the immigration. So a lot of these areas are going to be fleshed out in their own webinars. But just to give you sort of like a general overview, and just so you know what is ahead of you. So again, the first step is to accept your offer. And typically, you need to just carefully review the offer letter that you have received and accept or decline the offer by the specified deadline. So to accept it, you need to go through your student application portal, and then you click accept, and then you'll be prompted to pay a deposit of 500 euros. That step is very important because your application will not be marked as accepted if you do not fill that deposit of 500 euros. Again, that deposit is a non-refundable deposits. So it counts towards your final fees, but it is non-refundable. So you need to be sure that you want to accept your offer at DCU. I know a few students, due to many different reasons, might still need to request a refund. We would only consider your refund request if, for two reasons mainly. If you do not meet the conditions of your offer. So I know some of you might have conditional offers. And so if you do not meet the conditions of your offer, say maybe you need to provide like an English language test and you do not get the test or the required scores, then you can apply. But you need to show that you have tried multiple times, at least twice, to try to reach the requirements. And the second reason why your refund might be considered, or your refund request might be considered, would be if you do not get your visa. Hopefully, all of you will be able to get your visas, and I would walk you through sort of like the steps and what is required in another webinar. But if your visa is denied, you can request for a refund. We also make, I guess, like room for extenuating circumstances. So these would be circumstances beyond your control. And so say you have like a medical issue or something like that, and you can also request for a refund. But that third case would only be looked at on a case-by-case basis. And so it's not a guarantee that you would receive the refund. So again, I must stress that before paying that 500 euros, you need to be sure that DCU is where you would want to study. So as I mentioned, if your offer has expired, typically when you receive your offer, you would have like a 2-week deadline, depending on the program that you've applied for. And you can also request an extension. So the day before your offer is to expire, you can send an email to internationaladmissions@dcu.ie, and they will determine if your offer can be extended. Typically, they would extend it for you for an initial period of 2 weeks, and you could also ask for an extra 2 weeks. But again, it is very highly dependent on the program that you have applied for. Some programs are very competitive and there is no room for extension. So you need to be sure, and so you can accept before the deadline. And the next step would be to try to arrange your accommodation. Again, we'll be doing a series of webinars on-campus accommodation at DCU and off-campus accommodation at DCU. So please be sure to register, because in those webinars will go a lot more into detail. But it is very advisable that you start the search for your accommodations as early as possible. And you have the option to apply for accommodations on our accommodation portal. You can also opt to live off campus as well. So be sure again to register for those upcoming webinars, because we'll go a lot more into detail about it there. The next thing would be to start to, I guess, make arrangements to pay your fees. As international students, you have the option to pay your fees in 2 installments. So you can choose to pay 60% and 60% before the start of the first semester. So if you need to apply for a visa, you need to make at least 60% of your fee payment before you apply for your visa. And then the remaining 40% would be due in January of the following year. And the best way and the advised way to make your payments would be through TransferMate, because you can receive a receipt from TransferMate. Please note that we do not provide any fee receipts because we are in communication with the Immigration Office. And so for those of you that would need to apply for a visa, just be assured that your fees would be recorded. What we can do in some cases is if you email us, we can send an email confirmation to you if the visa office requires some sort of confirmation from us. But typically, the receipts that you get from TransferMate or your bank teller and the offer letter that you received would suffice. Oh yeah, one thing that I wanted to add as well was that once you have accepted your offer, we do not issue a new offer letter. The only times when we issue new offer letters are if you had a conditional offer before and then you have met the conditions of your offer, then you get a firm offer letter. But when you accept your offer, we do not provide any new offer letter. So that offer letter that you receive would be the documents that you use to apply for a visa if you need one or register with immigration as well. Okay, the next step is to apply for your visa. So depending on your nationality, you may be required to get a visa to enter Ireland and study. So to learn if you need a visa to travel to Ireland, please visit the ISD website. So I think it's like a PDF where they have listed all the countries that require a visa, and they also have a space for countries that do not require a visa. Again, I will be doing a full webinar on how to make a visa application. So please be sure to register for that webinar session. But just sort of like a quick overview, typically you must make your applications through the AVAT system, and you can find a lot more information about the visa application on the immigration website. I would also be sharing this presentation with you and the recording as well, so you can go back to it at any time. The next step would be to register as a student. So once you have gotten your visa and you are ready to come to Ireland, typically you'll be able to register online as a student. So registration dates will be published very soon, so you'll know exactly when you can register as a student. But please try not to register until you know the outcome of your visa. Because sometimes students run into issues where they have registered as a student and their visa does not come back successfully. That can cause like some issues when you're trying to get a refund on your fees. So be sure that you have received your visa, and then you are preparing to arrive in Ireland before you go on the registry and portal to register. The next step would just be to plan for your arrival. Again, it's a very big move to travel to a new city and to come and study. So you need to plan your travel. So that includes booking your flights, arranging transport from the airport to your accommodation. You need to do a lot of research about the city, Dublin. So familiarize yourself with the culture, with the lifestyle, and with the attractions. Again, we'll be doing so it will be doing a webinar with some of our ambassadors where they would sort of like walk you through their experience of DCU. But please take some time to do some research as well to familiarize yourself with Dublin. You can also explore DCU's campus and our facilities as well. So you can take a virtual tour just so you are prepared by the time that you arrive. Additionally, you can also connect with ambassadors or alumni for advice. Also, please consider joining the Going app to connect with other prospective students as well. Again, as I mentioned, we'll be doing a webinar a panel with some of our current student ambassadors where they'll be going through their own experiences as students in Ireland. Okay, and the next step would be to attend orientation. So once you have arrived in Dublin, DCU offers like a very comprehensive orientation program for international students, and you can find a lot more information about that on our SSND page. So the full schedule will be published very soon, so you know exactly what you'll be doing on the first day of the orientation as well. So this would be a very, very good opportunity to start to meet other your fellow students and learn about the university. You can also get advice on settling into life in Ireland as well. So please, in your own time, visit our International Student Support page, and there is a lot of information for you about Dublin, about DCU as well. And the final step would be to register with immigration. So regardless of whether you need a visa to come and study in Ireland, if you'll be living in Ireland over 90 days, you need to register with immigration. So you need to report to immigration. I'll go a bit more into detail about this in the visa webinar that I'll be doing. But you need to just go with the documents that you use if you apply for a visa. If not, you need your offer letter and just a lot of like documents to prove that you are a student and that you are fully enrolled on a program in Ireland. So when you go there to register, you must do this within 90 days of arrival. That would give you your IRP. The IRP is your residence permit. So that would allow you to be able to travel out of Ireland and come back, but it will be valid for a duration of 1 year. And so you need to do that regardless of whether you applied for visa or not. So those are the steps. Again, just as a reminder, we have these following webinars coming up. So there'll be no webinar for next week, but the week after, we'll be doing the visa and immigration information webinar session. Again, for students who need to apply for a visa, I cannot stress how important it will be to register for it. Again, like that would just be sort of like a general overview of what is required to apply for a visa. We'll also be doing a guide to DCU accommodations on the 22nd of May. So if you plan to apply for accommodation on campus, please be sure to register for that webinar as well. And then finally, we'll be doing a guide to off-campus accommodation on the 29th of May as well. There will be other webinars to follow, but these are the, I guess, the most recent. And again, just as a final reminder, please be sure to check out our Going app, and there will be a link in your email. This is a very good place to meet other fellow prospective students who are planning to come to DC. Again, you can start to research, you can find groups based on interests and hobbies as well, and it can help to sort of like build better connections as well. So if you have questions, you can ask people who know. If not, our student ambassadors are also on the app as well, so you can chat with them as well. And please be sure to follow us on social media. Again, we try to post very, very informative and helpful content all across our social media, and Frank does a very good job of that. So please be sure to follow. Again, thank you so much for listening. Please, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat now, and Frank would go through and I will be able to answer a few of your questions.
Thanks so much, Priya. That was great. there's a couple of questions here to start with. The first one, somebody was just asking about not receiving an updated offer letter. Just as we were saying, if you have a specific question to your case, just reach out to us on the email that Priya put in the chat at the start, and we'll be able to look into it for you and provide you a bit more information there. We just don't want to go into specific questions on the webinar for when everyone else has to listen to it. So somebody's just asking about scholarships and financial aid. For all of DCU scholarships, when you apply for your course, you'll automatically apply for our merit-based scholarships and any other scholarships that are available. So there is no separate application. So if you've got your offer, you should know already if you've got a scholarship or any financial aid as well. There's no kind of separate application that you can do afterwards. The next question you might be able to help answer, Priya, it's about if they've received the scholarship, do they have to pay 60% of the total fee or 60% of the total fee minus the scholarship?
Yeah, so yeah, if you've received a scholarship, you still need to pay 60% of your total fee. The scholarship that you've got to be deducted from the final installment.
Great. Hopefully that helps that question. The next question again is very specific to, it's about the pre-sessional English course. So I'd ask probably the best thing that you can do again is just email us on the email that Priya provided, and we should be able to look at your case and provide you more information there. The last question is just if the balance is 40%, that has to be paid before January 2025. Yeah, so before January 2025, you'll have to pay the remaining 40% of your fees. Yeah.
Yeah, typically the fees office would send you a notification of when that 40% is due, but typically it's sometime in January. Yeah.
And then somebody's just asking that they pay the deposit of €500 and if they get a confirmation once they've received it, or if there is no confirmation.
No, so when you pay the €500 and you accept in your portal, and there's no other confirmation, typically it would be updated on our system as accepted. If you feel like you want to know, you can send an email and we can check and just give you an email confirmation. But typically, there's no confirmation once you've paid. As long as like you have the receipts from TransferMate. That's why I keep stressing that you try to use TransferMate to make any payments. As long as you have that receipt, we would receive the money.
And somebody's just asked about, they've applied for the John Thompson Scholarship, which is in the business school, and they're wondering, do we know when they can expect a result?
No, so that one is totally run by the business school. So if you have applied for that scholarship, you need to wait for the business school to get back to you on
that. Somebody then is asking if the scholarship is first come, first serve.
Not necessarily. So the merit-based scholarship is based on your academic performance. So it's not about first come, first serve. If you meet the requirements, typically for your masters, if you have a first class, you have a very good chance of getting it. But again, they are in limited supply. So as long as you've applied, you will be automatically assessed. And if you meet the requirements, you should get the scholarship notification. I can see someone sent me a direct message, said I have paid €500. When can I expect my conditional letter? Again, as I mentioned to the other students, we do not provide any extra offer or any new offer letters. If the offer letter that you received initially was a firm offer, you do not get any new offer letters. As long as you've paid the deposits and you have a receipt from TransferMate, be rest assured that we have seen it. If you still want any reassurance, you can send an email and we can just check and verbally confirm for you. Okay.
The next question is just about if they want to pay the entire amount of their fees, should they pay that amount minus, and if they've received the scholarship, should they pay that amount minus the scholarship, or should they wait for the scholarship to be deducted?
No. So if you want to pay the entirety of the fee at that point in time, yes, you can deduct the cost of the scholarship. Yeah, but you would need to, like when you're applying for a visa, you need to show the offer letter that you received that shows the total fees, and then the scholarship letter that you received as well, stating that you have received this amount. That would sort of like help the visa officers to understand why you have paid what you paid.
And then somebody's just asking about a conditional acceptance letter if they apply for their visa, even if they haven't reached the English language requirements yet.
To be honest, it would be better if you can meet the English language requirements. You need to have a firm acceptance of or a firm offer from DCU to apply, because again, like having that conditional offer would raise questions with the visa office. So you need to meet the requirements of DCU and then receive a firm offer before you proceed to apply for your visa.
The next question is just about the date for the start of the master's program. So classes will start on the 9th of September. Orientation will be in the 1 to 2 weeks before that, but exact orientation information will be sent out to you over the next couple of months once it's all confirmed. Then the next one is, when do they draw the results for the campus accommodation?
So that will be covered in the accommodation webinar that we'll be doing very soon. So there'll be someone from the accommodation office that can give you all the information you need to know about accommodations on campus.
I think you talked about this in the webinar, but someone's just asking why we're not getting fee receipts from the university.
Yes, I mentioned the university is in contact with the immigration office. So we send them like a spreadsheet regularly, so they know the students who have paid fees already. All you just need to do is, as long as you have the transfer mate confirmation, and if you made the payment using like your bank or your card, you just need to have evidence that you paid from your side. We don't need to issue you a receipt. Yeah.
Then somebody's just asking when we should pay the 60% fee for the September intake. I think that was covered as well, but if you just want to quickly run over it again.
Yeah, so after you've paid your 500 euros to accept your offer, you need to pay the 60% before you apply for a visa if you need one. If you do not need one, that 60% needs to be paid before you register in DC.
And then somebody's just asking how long it will take to get their firm offer once they've met the conditions. Like, how long will it take to get the offer letter?
Typically within 1 week or 2 weeks. If you have met the conditions and you've uploaded it on the portal and you've not received your firm offer after 2 weeks, please send an email to our inbox and we'll try to follow it up for you.
And then somebody's just asking about, can they deduct the deposit when paying the 60% of the fees? Or does that get deducted from the second installment?
Yes, so it will be from second installment. Yeah, that deposit will be from second installment.
Somebody's asking about then if the scholarships come just when you get the offer letter or after the visa as well. You'll just get told when you get your offer letter. So when you get your offer letter, you'll also get a letter telling you whether you've got your scholarship or not.
Yeah, so sometimes depending on the scholarship, it might take maybe a week or 2 to get the scholarship letter, but typically, yeah, within 1 or 2 weeks of receiving your offer, you should have your scholarship notification.
The same question has just been asked about the getting a receipt for the 60%, but I think Priya has just covered that, so we might just skip over that one. Does university issue any decision letter, or is the firm offer letter the final one?
Yes, the firm offer is the final letter that you receive.
Someone's just asking if they haven't received any scholarship. Is there any way to reach out to scholarships? For scholarships, you'll automatically be considered when you apply. So when you get your offer letter, if you haven't got it, I'm sorry, but that's the final decision. There's nothing you can do after that to change it.
Yeah.
Someone's asking us the same question about the deposit being deducted. So that would be deducted from your 40% second installment, not from the 60% of the first installment. By when will we get the orientation confirmed dates? I don't think we know exactly when they'll be released, but we would expect them to be released pretty soon. And once they do get released, you'll get contacted over your email with the final details. But you can expect them to be in the 1 to 2 weeks leading up to September 9th. So that's when your classes will start. Orientation typically is in the 1 to 2 weeks before that. And there might be some online orientation before that as well. But as we said, you'll get as much detail as possible whenever it's finalized. Someone's just asking that they've met their conditional offer conditions, but they're still waiting for their firm offer. Should they pay their 60% now, or should he wait for his firm offer letter?
So you said he has met the conditions?
So he's met his conditions on his conditional offer, and he's just waiting for his firm offer letter. But he's just wondering, should he pay his 60% now, or should he wait for that firm offer letter to come true?
Yeah, if you've met the conditions and you've uploaded it to the system, and then yeah, there's no issue in making the payments for the 60%, because you will get it again. Like if it's been more than 2 weeks, please send an email and we'll try to follow it up.
Just the same questions are coming through again and again, just about if they've received a scholarship, should that be deducted from the 60%, or so the scholarship will be deducted from your second installment, so from the 40%, not your first installment of 60%. The same with the deposit. This would be, if I'm paying the full fee at once, sorry, should I deduct the deposit amount? Yes, you should deduct the deposit amount. Will DCU accept 6 in IELTS and 115 in Duolingo? No, they won't make any adjustments for English language requirements. What's on our website is what we'll accept. We won't accept anything lower than that. If I want to do the entire payment in a single installment, then I need to deduct both scholarship and acceptance deposit, right? Yep, that's correct. Just send them proof of the scholarship letter that you've received. So they paid the fine. Yeah, I think we've run through everything. A lot of the questions are starting to be repeated, but if anybody has specific questions, make sure just to contact the email address that Priya has put in. It should be the first message in the chat when you go back up. So there's just one question that's there a couple of times. It's about the deadline they have to meet their conditions on their conditional offer.
Yeah, so typically the deadline would be the 1st of July. But again, it depends on the program that you've applied for. Some programs have already closed and stopped, I guess, accepting new applications. So, but the general deadline is the 1st of July. And then there's again, just to answer, like there's one final one, say, how can we be assured that fees have been received by the college? Again, if you paid your fees using TransferMate, you would have a receipt. If you still want to be assured, you can send an email to DCU Global and we can confirm. So we'll just send you an email, but please try not to do that. As long as you've paid with TransferMate, be assured that your fees have been recorded.
Yeah. And then someone's just asking, can they use the TransferMate receipt for the visa process? Yeah, you can. We are in contact with the visa offices as well, so they'll know from our side that you've paid your 60%. And then there's just one final question here that someone's just asking about. They can't meet the conditionals until their results come out in August. Should they apply for their visa in June, or should they wait until their results?
Applying for your visa in August is very, very risky. The reason is you need to give at least 8 weeks before you are to arrive in Dublin. So your application needs to be sent in for your visa 8 weeks before you have to arrive in Dublin. So if you're applying in August and the resumption is in September, the chances of getting it would be very, very tricky. Again, you can try applying with your conditional offer, and explain to the visa office in your letter, but I cannot guarantee that that would be successful.
And then there's just a couple of questions about accommodation. As Priya said, just make sure to register for our 2 accommodation webinars that are coming up. We'll have somebody from the accommodation office who will be able to answer all your questions, and they'll provide a lot more information about the accommodation. There's just one person just confirming about deducting the deposit and the scholarship from the second deposit. Yeah, your understanding is correct there.
Yeah, about the John Thompson scholarship, I think that scholarship is just specific to the digital marketing program. And yeah, if you are successful in the John Thompson scholarship, and you have paid some of the fees or all of it, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't get a refund if you qualify for it. I think that is the end of questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the webinar. I hope this was informative for you. So please be sure to register for the upcoming webinars, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys.